Well guys, as you saw from the thumbnail and title of the video, yes, I went ahead and started a position in Uber stock today, okay? 3 things I want to get in today's video. I'm going to show you screenshots of the move, how much I bought for, what price I paid for those Uber shares. Number 2, I'm going to talk about why I bought Uber now, how long I plan on buying Uber in the future, and what price would Uber have to go up to for me to say I'm done buying. If you don't already know, like I don't just do a one-day buy. I buy for months into the future, sometimes years into the future, okay? And number 3, we're going to get into the real meat of this video, why I am super bullish on Uber over the long term, which is I think going to be very, very interesting, obviously getting into my bullish case around Uber. All right, now this, I mostly only share this type of stuff, like moves I'm making in the market in my private stock group. So if you guys appreciate me sharing a move like this, make sure you smash the thumbs up button, especially on a controversial stock like Uber, guys. It means a lot, okay? Let's start getting into this. So here we go with the screenshots, all right? We bought about $4,400 or so worth of Uber stock here today in my public account, which every single move I ever make in that account is available in my private stock group. So we bought 100 shares at $32.59. That was $3,200 worth there. And then we bought another 35 shares at $32.59. And that one was about a $1,145 move there. You add up those moves and it's a little over a $4,400 move there in Uber stock, okay? Now Uber today, it's having a rough day. So I said, you know what? I've been wanting to build a position in this. I just got to get my foot in the door, okay? I got to get my foot in the door. I like this company a lot. We'll get into why I'm very bullish on the stock over the coming years, but I'm like, I got to get my foot in the door. That sometimes you just got to, I would have loved to, start buying this one when it hit 29 or somewhere around there, but who knows if it goes down to 29. That's not a for sure thing. And at this point in time, I'm like, I just got to start a position, man. Let's just start a position. And so we went ahead and we did the 4,400 today, okay? Now, how long am I planning on buying this stock for? This will probably be a 12 to 18 month buy, meaning I will likely add shares of this stock for a year to maybe a year and a half into the future. So it's not like this is just a buy today, or I'm just going to buy it over the course of the next week or the next month or something. This will be a long-term buy. And whenever we talk about I'll be buying the stock for the next 12 to 18 months, usually that means I want to build this into a very, very big position, okay? And what price? I'm thinking anything under $40 a share. Any shares of Uber I can get under $40 a share over the next year to year and a half, I will be taking advantage of that, okay? That is under the IPO price. IPO price was somewhere around, it was a little under $50 a share, like somewhere around $45, $48 a share. I'm looking to get my hands on any shares I possibly can that are under $40, and I should be able to buy this one unless it made some type of crazy move upward in the very short term. I should be able to buy shares under the $40 price for a long time into the future, okay? Now, how much am I planning on sticking in Uber? I think this is always important because you can kind of judge if I want this to be a big position or a small position. And being that I'm making this video today, this is probably going to be a very big position in the future, okay? I'm gonna want to have at least $100,000 plus in the stock over the next 12 to 18 months. This is not a position that I just plan on having as a 5-figure position or something. This is a potential 6-figure plus position I plan on having in the market. One of my bigger stocks out there, not my biggest investment because they do lose money on the bottom line, so it can't be my biggest investment, but one of my biggest investments. I plan on Uber being a top 5 position. Let's put it that way, okay? Now, some people might say, well, why $4,000 or so here today? The reason I do around a $4,000 buy there is what I like to do whenever I start a position. I dip my toe in, okay? What I like to do is I usually like to buy between $2,000 and $5,000 in initial position. For me, that feels about right. Usually, if I buy super heavy in a stock, usually that's an undisciplined move. If I buy $20,000 in a stock that I've never bought before, and I just stick $20,000 in or $40,000, that's a very undisciplined move for me. Discipline is usually buying in $2,000 to $5,000 increments. This would be a little bit out of the higher range of that, but it's still right around where I want, okay? So with all that being covered, now we can get into the real meat of the video, why I'm bullish on Uber. Alrighty guys, now it's time to get into the fun stuff. Why I am super bullish on Uber stock, okay? Let's talk about the 2 negatives around Uber stock before we get into the positives, because it's always good to get the negatives out first, okay? One is Uber's going to lose money for at least, in my opinion, 2 to 3 years in the future. At least. It could even be 4 years in the future. So Uber on the bottom line is going to continue to take losses. The losses should get less and less as years go on, but Uber should continue to lose money, okay? So that's one negative. The other main negative is obviously whenever you're a huge tech company, you have to deal with regulation, what the government might do, what the government might not do. That's any big tech company, whether you're talking Uber, Facebook, Google, Apple, it doesn't matter. Anybody across the board, they have to deal with this type of stuff. Government coming down on them for different reasons, maybe regulation of some kind. Uber has to deal with that as well. Those are the two main negatives around Uber. It's going to lose money and they're a huge company, so they're going to have a lot of regulation, possibly or possibly not, okay? Now, the great thing I love about all that talk about, oh, there might be this regulation, there might be this new law, blah, 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 is sometimes that creates some unbelievably, huge dips in the stock price, which as a buyer of the stock for the next year, year and a half, that's going to allow me to get some, even better entry points in the stock in the future, okay? Now, why am I so bullish on Uber stock, all right? This isn't even probably it. This is just, the main core of why I'm very bullish on Uber stock. One is their #1 player in the world in ride sharing. This is a category that's not going anywhere. Ride sharing, this is becoming more and more popular. The kind of move, not just in urban areas, but maybe a lot of people in general looking at it as they don't want to have their own car. They don't want to have that $500 payment a month to the car. And we know car prices, generally speaking, have just gotten more and more expensive. If you look at the data, cars in the United States of America or anywhere in the world have just gotten more and more expensive over the year. And you have a lot of folks saying, maybe I don't want to take out that $35,000 loan to go get that basic car over there. Maybe I'll be better off just like ride sharing something. I'll probably save $200 a month or $300 a month by just going the ride sharing route rather than having my own car. Okay, so this is something that's a huge category. It's disrupted the entire taxi industry. To give you some reference, just like 5 or 6 years ago, taxi industry, of rides given out there made up about 99% of what people were taking for rides around taxi industry. Now it's around 12%, and that's just in a few years' time, and that's because Uber's completely disrupted the space, okay? They also have a 15% ownership stake in a company named Didi, which is the Chinese Uber. So it's not just like Uber's the #1 player in ride sharing around the world. They also have the biggest player in China in Didi, ownership in that company. That ownership stake in itself is worth somewhere between $5 and $10 billion as of today. And as Didi hopefully expands and expands, likely that ownership stake should be worth more and more to Uber over time, and that can sit on their balance sheet for now, or maybe down the road they can sell that out to somebody who's willing to buy that ownership stake out there, which there are probably plenty of funds that would love to do that, okay? So in most markets Uber competes in, they have one main major competitor in that market, and you can go different country by country. Most markets they have one other main competitor out there, okay? And so what this basically entails and why this is going to be a very profitable business model over time is when you have just one main competitor, what that ends up leading to is huge profits down the road, because it's not like you're fighting against a ton of different players, okay? I know in the United States of America, we have 2 apps. If you want to get a ride somewhere, you go to 2 apps. You're either going to Uber or you're going to Lyft. And that's what 99.9% of Americans know out there, okay? And you go market by market, it's usually either Uber or some type of other app out there that you're going to go to get your ride. And at least in the United States of America, Uber has the vast majority of those rides given, whereas Lyft is a smaller competitor. Uber's kind of always been able to undercut on price and also had more drivers, so they've always kind of had an advantage there. But when you only have one competitor, you can just make a lot of money over time. And it's like that. You can go every single industry. Whenever you have only 2 main competitors, they're just going to be able to raise prices over time and make a lot of money on the bottom line. And that's exactly what's going to end up happening with Uber down the road. It's going to go from a business model that was taking some big losses to making some big profits down the road, okay? They will only be the #1 or #2 player in most markets around the world when it comes to food delivery. Now, food delivery isn't such a big thing in a lot of the emerging markets out there, but in markets like the United States of America, in the EU and places like that, food delivery is a pretty big thing out there. So they're going to be the #1, #2 player in almost all markets out there. Why will they be the #1, #2 player going into the future? Well, they're going to out-invest their competition. They're going, whether it's cutting on price, whether it's trying to get more restaurants signed up, whatever across the board, they're going to straight up out-invest their competition, okay? And also when you have the Uber brand and people are known for getting Uber rides, and then they known for oh, I want to get food delivery of some kind, oh, let's go to Uber Eats. That's just a big thing in itself, but they're going to out-invest their competition. Flat out bottom line. Why are they going to out-invest their competition? Well, they've got over $10 billion just sitting around in cash on the balance sheet, okay? Well over $10 billion. And they're SoftBank backed, okay? Which means SoftBank's a huge investor out there in different companies, some public companies, some non-public companies. And they just had a fund recently where they raised, it's called a Vision Fund just a few years ago. They raised $100 billion with this Vision Fund, okay? Over $100 billion. And the biggest investor in Uber is this company named SoftBank, okay? So SoftBank is basically an unlimited funds company. So if you're looking for, let's say Uber needs a few $1 billion to do something, SoftBank has a few $1 billion. They could build their ownership stake bigger in Uber. They could buy bonds. They can do whatever it takes for Uber to succeed and win market share battles in wherever they need to do it, okay? And so when you have basically a fund that it has your back and they have unlimited money behind them, that means the world, okay? Because you're competing, if you're thinking about food delivery, you're competing with companies like DoorDash and Postmates and Grubhub and some of these competitors. These are really, really small companies when you compare them to Uber, and their investors just don't have the type of capital that, someone like a SoftBank does when they, have your backing there, okay? And so SoftBank absolutely needs Uber to succeed in a major, major way. And so if Uber was to ever get in trouble, hey, who's going to have their back 100% is going to end up being SoftBank, okay? Uber Freight is a game changer. Everybody thinks about Uber stock, they're thinking about ride sharing first, okay? And then after ride sharing, they think about Uber Eats. And so if people are making a judgment on Uber stock, those are the two things they're thinking of, and they're like, okay, I can see that being very profitable down the road. Oh, I can't see that being very profitable down the road. I don't like Uber stock. Yes, I do like Uber stock. They're making a judgment based upon the fact that, basically they're judging the business off ride sharing and Uber Eats. But I'm telling you, Uber Freight is a game changer for the company, okay? An absolute game changer. And this could be one of their biggest businesses, if they're not their biggest business, if you're looking at like a 5 to 7 year time frame, because the industry they're going after is so big, it's hard to even fathom, okay? And so why is this a game changer? Well, it allows drivers to have more control. When they go on the Uber Freight app, they can basically choose where they want to drive. They can choose when they want to pick up their orders, all those sorts of things, versus before. And by the way, shout out to the truckers that watch the channel. I know there's some of you guys that are truckers. Leave me a comment down there in the comment section. Unless you're driving, then don't leave me a comment right now, okay? But for the truckers out there, I would love for some of you guys to speak on this. But it allows the drivers more control because generally speaking, you had to get like dispatched to where your next delivery is. There's a bunch of downtime there. You don't really have much control over when you drive, when you don't drive. So Uber Freight app allows the drivers to have a lot more control, which a lot of the drivers love to have control because then they feel like they're not just living the life of a trucker. They can do more things. They can plan their life better rather than just getting a dispatch. And it's like maybe you're going to be sitting for hours and hours and hours not driving when you'd want to be driving, and then you're forced to drive when you don't want to drive or something like that. So drivers love it because there's more control there, which means more drive time. Also, this app allows for a lot more drive time in the truck. So if you want to make the most money possible as a trucker, then you need to have the most drive time possible. You want your truck, your wheels to always be spinning. You want orders to be really fast. You want to be able to hook up that trailer really fast and get on your way, okay? Because the more time you're driving, the more money you're going to make, right? And so this allows for more drive time as well, which is, once again, another thing drivers absolutely love, all right? And also, if you're thinking about it from shipping product perspective, you want your product to get shipped as fast as possible. Time is money in business, right? Time is money. And so if you're looking at it from a driver perspective or a shipper perspective, time is money. You want to get that product shipped wherever it needs to get shipped as fast as possible, okay? Or trucked, I should say, not shipped really. Trucked as fast as possible. Uber takes about a 1% fee from their transactions. It's kind of being like the middleman there, versus the industry standard is about 15 to 30%. This is a ridiculous difference, okay? This is a ridiculous difference. When you're talking about a 1% fee you're taking versus the industry standard is 15 to 30%, you're talking about a lot more money in the driver's pockets at the end of the day and a lot more money in the shipper's pockets at the end of the day, okay? So this is a huge, huge thing. And if you're thinking about a long-term perspective, over time, Uber can probably up that fee over time through certain ways. But right now, Uber just wants to take market share in this industry. Why? Well, over 70% of the goods that are moved around in the United States of America alone It's transported by trucks, okay? So we're talking about going over a massive industry, just the United States of America. Now imagine on a worldwide scale. And imagine how big this Uber freight business could be over time. This could be to Uber what Amazon Web Services meant to Amazon, right? It was a sneaky business that no one paid attention to for the longest time. Everybody, when it came to Amazon stock, for a long, long time, they focused on the retail aspect of Amazon, right? Amazon Web Services, if you didn't know, is not a new business. It's only like come to the forefront over the last few years because it became literally one of the biggest businesses in the world if it was a standalone company, right? And so, and now all, tons of businesses rely on Amazon Web Services, but Amazon Web Services was created over a decade ago, and it was sneaky, and no one paid attention to it, and it grew, and it grew, and it grew, and it grew bigger and bigger and bigger until now it's literally like most of Amazon's market cap is probably because of the web services business rather than the retail. And I see a very similar thing happening here with Uber Freight, where it's just a sneaky business that's growing off of a small base and will grow bigger and bigger and bigger over time. And eventually, people will look back and they're like, how did we not see this one coming? How did we not see the Uber Freight business? We were so caught up in looking at ride sharing that we forgot that they had this little business they were testing out and they were rolling out, and drivers loved it and shippers loved it, and it continued to build and build and build, and look what ended up happening to that business over time, okay? And by the way, you can go to the App Store, you can look at the reviews for Uber Freight. Generally, they're very, very high. Like the truckers love it, the shippers love it. It's a good service, and it's going to end up taking massive market share over time, and it's just going to sneak up on everybody, and no one's going to have seen it coming. And 10 years from now, we're going to be like, that's one of the biggest businesses in the world if it was a standalone business, and a lot of people won't have seen it coming, okay? Also, to kind of recap some more things here, self-driving is going to make a lot more, basically ride-sharing business is going to be a lot more profitable once self-driving takes off. And I've heard some estimates that people don't think we're going to have autonomous driving for well over 5 years. In my personal opinion, we're going to have autonomous driving within 5 years, okay? I'm 100% confident in that. When I drive my Tesla around, or I should say the Tesla drives me, and I don't even have the most advanced version, I have the lesser version, when that car drives me around, I'm like, dude, this is doing like 98% of the work for me, okay? And I can only imagine as a few years, tick by, like the car is going to be able to do everything within like the next 12 to 24 months, in my opinion, and drive much, much better than humans overall, okay? And then we're just going to have to talk about regulation, things like that. So self-driving is going to mean a lot more profits for Uber over time. Tesla, in my opinion, is going to be their main competition in autonomous driving. I believe Tesla will have autonomous driving fleets out there and things like that, which, whoever wins that, and whoever, I can see Uber and Tesla kind of be the number one and number two in most markets around the world if we're looking at a super long-term basis. And to me personally, whoever wins it, wins it. Uber, I'm going to build a massive position in. Tesla, I already have a very good sized position in. So whoever wins it, wins it. It's all gravy for me in the end, because I'm like now kind of hedging my bet, because I'm going to have a big investment in Uber over time, and I already have one in Tesla. This is what we call a hedged bet, okay? Now also, here's one of the other biggest factors why I love Uber stock, and if I'm thinking about a stock I can stick money in, and I'm just pretty confident it'll work out, even if I never bought or sold any more shares. Uber has innovation and disruption at its core, and very, very, very few companies have this at its core. And what does this mean? It means to innovate and disrupt industry by industry. If you think about like Uber, they disrupted completely the taxi industry, right? An industry that looked like it couldn't be disrupted, and then they just came in and completely disrupted the industry. Now they're completely disrupting the food delivery game, right? Now they're going to completely disrupt the trucking industry, another industry that was ripe for disruption, and no one could do it. And it looks like Uber is going to come in and disrupt this. At its very core, at the heart of the company, they have disruption and innovation there, okay, to disrupt industries. And there are very few companies that have that. Two companies that come to mind are Apple and Amazon. Apple, how many, if you think about Apple, how many industries Apple has disrupted over the last 15 years, it's astonishing. If you just go product by product, and then you look at the App Store and how many industries were disrupted because of the App Store and things like that. It's ridiculous, right? And then you think about Amazon. Amazon's disrupted industry after industry. And so if I'm looking at a company that is the future of these type of massive companies, I'm thinking Uber, because there are very few companies that really have trillion-dollar opportunities in front of them. Like I can probably think of 5 companies that have realistic trillion-dollar opportunities, trillion-dollar market cap opportunities in front of themselves in future years. Probably about 5 companies, okay? And there are so few out there that have disruption, innovation at their core, that I feel very confident in building this company into a very, very big position over time. Top 5 biggest position for me. And look forward to hearing a lot more about Uber stock in the future, guys, because I'm very excited over this one. I am very, very excited, and we'll build this one into one of our biggest positions we hold overall. So anyways, let me know your opinion on Uber stock down there in that comment section. Make sure you smash the thumbs up button if you enjoyed me sharing all this. This took quite a bit of time to put together, so make sure you show some love back, guys. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.